It's a Tuesday evening in August, a little past 8. The news is over, the dishes are done, and you put both hands on the arms of the good chair and push yourself up to go turn off the porch light. And there it is, that first dozen steps. Your hips don't want to open all the way, your knees feel like somebody quietly let the air out of them, and you cross your own hallway with a short, careful shuffling stride. The one you used to notice on other people, older people. By the time you get to the door, it's mostly smoothed out and you feel like yourself again, which is almost the strangest part because it means nothing is torn and nothing is broken. That's just how you start now. Or maybe for you, it's the car. 4 hours on the interstate, and when you swing your legs out at the rest stop, you stand there holding the door frame while your hips remember what they're for. Here's the one number I want you to carry through this whole video. Most of us, and I mean most adults in this country at just about every age, now spend the large majority of our waking hours sitting down. Not some of it, the large majority. I'm not telling you that to scold you. I'm telling you because it's a clue. Your body has been paying very close attention to how you spend those hours. The stiffness in your legs and hips isn't something happening to you. It's a conclusion your body drew, honestly and logically, from the evidence you handed it. Stay with me, because if it's a conclusion, it can be argued with. If you're new here, I'm Glenn. I'm 55. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a trainer, and I have never had a client in my life. I'm a fellow who reads more than is probably good for him, and then tries to say the useful part out loud in plain English, without the shouting. And I'm keeping a promise today. At the end of the last video, the one about waking at 3 in the morning and staring at the ceiling, I said that a whole lot of you had written in about something else entirely. The stiffness that will not leave your legs and hips. It was in the comments over and over. I said the next one would be about that. This is that video. One more promise I'll restate, because it matters. Back in the balance video, I told you there'd be no floor work. I meant it then, and I mean it permanently. Everything today happens in one of three places: standing at your kitchen counter, standing at a wall, or sitting in a sturdy dining chair. Nobody has to get down onto the floor, and nobody has to get back up off it. Now, the honest part, and I'd rather lose you right here than lie to you. Stretching is not magic. Nobody loosens 40 years of sitting over a weekend. Anyone who tells you their 10 minutes will make you feel 25 again is selling something, and I'm not selling anything. What I've got is a mechanism that makes sense and a routine that respects your joints. The other honest thing is this: not all stiffness answers to movement. Some of it has a cause underneath it that needs a doctor, not a stretch. If you've got arthritis in a joint that's genuinely inflamed, hot, swollen, angry, that joint needs treating before it needs stretching. If a hip is bone on bone, no amount of gentle rocking builds you new cartilage, and pretending otherwise wastes the years you could have spent getting it properly looked at. Thyroid problems can make you ache and stiffen all over, and that's a blood test, not a routine. Certain cholesterol medications are associated with muscle aching and heaviness in the legs. And if your stiffness showed up the same season a new prescription did, that's worth mentioning to whoever wrote it. Don't stop taking anything on my say-so. Just ask the question. And here's the one I really want you to take in, so listen close. Ordinary wear and tear stiffness, the kind this whole video is about, loosens up. You get moving, and in 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, it eases off. But if your morning stiffness routinely lasts well over an hour before your body feels usable to you, that is a different animal. That's one of the classic signals doctors listen for when they're thinking about inflammatory arthritis, and it's the kind of thing where getting it named early genuinely matters. If that's you, that's a phone call this week, not a stretch. All right. If you're still with me, here's what's actually going on. Your range of motion is use dependent. That's the whole thing in 4 words. And everything else is detail. The body is not a machine that wears out on a fixed schedule. It's more like a very literal-minded employee. It looks at what you actually ask for, and it builds exactly that, and it quietly stops paying for the rest. Research points to the same idea from a lot of directions. Tissue adapts to the positions it spends its time in. Muscle held short for years remodels shorter. The capsule around a joint, that tough sleeve of connective tissue holding the whole thing together, thickens and tightens along the lines it actually gets used. Studies suggest the fluid inside your joints responds to movement too. Motion is what circulates it and presses it into the cartilage, and cartilage has no blood supply of its own. So movement is more or less how it eats. Now run that forward across a normal modern day. Sit for breakfast. Sit in the car. Sit at a desk or a table. Sit to eat again. Sit for the evening. That's 10, 12, 14 hours where your hip is folded at roughly a right angle and never once goes past it, which is why the hips take the worst of it. The muscles on the front of your hip, the hip flexors, run from your lower spine and pelvis down to the top of your thigh. When you sit, they're slack and short. Hold anything short for years and it adapts to being short. Then you stand, and standing asks those same tissues to go to full length immediately. They protest. That's your first dozen steps down the hallway. Right there. The calves and ankles matter more than people think, too. Your ankle is supposed to bend so your shin travels forward over your foot. Shoes with a bit of heel, flat floors, no hills, and never squatting down to a low shelf means that bend gets used less and less. And when the ankle won't travel, your walk changes. Shorter steps, less push, and the work you're not doing down there gets handed straight up to the hips and lower back. Now, here's the part almost nobody says out loud, and it changes how you should do every single thing I'm about to describe. Tight very often does not mean short, it means weak and guarding. Your nervous system's first job is protecting joints. When it doesn't trust one, when the muscles around it aren't strong enough to control it through a full range, it does the sensible thing. It clamps down. That clamped feeling isn't damage, it's a bodyguard. And a bodyguard doesn't stand aside because you yanked on him, which is exactly why cranking hard on a stretch so often makes things worse. You pull, the system reads danger, the guarding goes up, and you stand up tighter than you sat down. What changes things is repetition, gentleness, and support. Go to the edge, not past it, breathe, come out. Do it again tomorrow. Over weeks, the system learns the position is safe and hands range back. Consistency beats intensity, and it isn't close. If that made something click for you, tap the like button. It genuinely helps this channel find other people who've been told for years that it's just their age. So, 2 quick tests, then 5 moves. You'll want a sturdy dining chair, a kitchen counter, and a clear stretch of wall. Test 1. Sit down in the dining chair, feet flat, sit up tall. Now take your right ankle and lay it across your left thigh, just above the knee, so your right knee falls out to the side. Don't push it. Just let it fall and look at where it lands. Now switch. Left ankle onto the right thigh. One of those two is going to be higher, tighter, or maybe won't cross at all. That's your stiffer hip. That's the side that's been quietly doing less. Test 2. Stand facing your kitchen counter about a fist's width from it, feet pointing straight ahead. Keeping your right heel glued to the floor, bend your right knee and try to touch the counter with it. Heel down is the whole rule. If the heel lifts, you've gone past your range. Now the left. Again, 1 will be worse. That's your stiffer ankle. Remember both answers. They tell you where your minutes are best spent, and I'll ask about them at the end. Move 1, the supported sit back. Stand facing the counter, hands on the edge, feet a little wider than your hips, toes turned slightly out. Let your hips travel back and down, letting your arms take as much weight as you want. Go only as low as feels controlled. That may be 6 inches. 6 inches done well beats a deep squat done scared. Chest proud, knees tracking out over your toes, heels down, then stand tall and squeeze your backside at the top. 8 of those. 3 seconds down, 3 seconds up. Move 2, the seated figure 4, same position as test 1. Right ankle across the left thigh, sit tall, and then hinge forward from the hips, not by rounding your back until you feel a broad stretch deep in the right buttock. Not a pinch in the front of the hip. If you feel pinching, back off. Hold 30 seconds while you breathe out slowly. Come up, switch sides, do 2 rounds each, and give an extra round to whichever side lost test 1. Move 3. The standing hip flexor. Stand behind your dining chair with both hands on the back of it. Step your right foot back about 2 feet, keeping that back leg fairly straight, heel down or up, whichever suits you. Now tuck your tailbone under, like you're tipping a bucket of water backward, and gently push your right hip forward. That tuck is the whole move. Without it, you arch your back and feel nothing. You should feel it across the front of the right hip and upper thigh. 30 seconds, breathing. Switch. 2 rounds each side. This one is the direct answer to the chair, so don't skip it. Move 4. The wall opener. Stand with your back against the wall, heels a few inches out, back side and upper back touching. Put the backs of your hands and forearms on the wall, elbows bent about level with your shoulders. Slide your arms slowly up the wall and slowly back down, trying to keep hands and forearms in contact. They won't stay in contact, and that's fine. That's information. 30 seconds of slow up and down. This is the one that stops your shoulders rolling forward. Move 5. The calf and ankle mobilizer. Back at the counter, fingertips on it for balance only. Rise onto the balls of both feet. Pause a second at the top. Lower for 3 slow seconds. 15 of those, then finish with the shape from test 2. Heel down, drive the knee toward the counter, ease it back, 10 each side, 5 extra on the worst side. That whole thing runs 8 to 10 minutes. Do it 4 or 5 days a week and give it 6 weeks before you judge it. If 10 minutes is too much, do move 3 and move 5 and nothing else. 2 moves you actually do beat 5 you admire. Now the rules, and these are not decoration. Never stretch into sharp pain. Learn the difference. A stretch is a broad, warm, dull pulling that stays put and eases while you breathe. Pain is sharp, pointy, has a specific address, and often shoots somewhere else. A stretch you can talk through. Pain makes you hold your breath, which is the second rule. Breathe. Long, slow exhales. Holding your breath tells your nervous system this is an emergency. And a guarding system doesn't release during an emergency. Don't bounce. Bouncing triggers the exact reflex you're trying to talk down. If you've had a joint replaced, especially a hip, you were given precautions about how far to bend, cross, and rotate it. Most folks get them once in a hospital gown on a day they weren't listening. Go find them and let them override anything I said. Move 2 in particular may not be for you. Warm tissue moves better than cold tissue. So do this after you've been up and moving, not in the first 2 minutes out of bed. After a short walk is ideal. And if one hip is dramatically worse than the other, or the stiffness came on fast over days or weeks rather than creeping in over years, don't stretch that. Get it looked at. Fast onset and big side-to-side differences are the body's way of asking for a professional opinion. My own honest disclosure, I'm 55, and after a long drive, my left hip is a rusted hinge. I did test one while putting this together, and my left knee sat a good 3 inches higher than my right. 3 inches. And I'm the fella making the video. My neighbor Dale, who walks with our Tuesday group, said what finally got through to him was realizing he hadn't squatted down to a bottom shelf in maybe 15 years. He quit going low, and nobody ever told him he'd quit. That's one man, not a study. But I'd bet you can't remember your last one either. Because here's the villain, and it isn't your age. It's the chair. And everything ever invented to spare you. The car, so you don't walk. The recliner, so you don't sit upright. The remote, so you don't cross the room. The delivery, so you don't carry. The elevator, so you don't climb. The riding mower, the rolling suitcase. The chair in every waiting room, every kitchen, every airport, every church hall. Every one of those was sold as comfort. Every one was a real kindness at the time. And every one quietly narrowed the range your body believed you needed. Nobody sat in a room and decided to stiffen a generation. There was no plot. We just built a world where you never have to reach for anything and then acted surprised when reaching got hard. So the stiffness in your legs and hips isn't a verdict on your age. It's a very accurate report on your average day. And a body that adapted down can adapt back. Slower than it went, I'll grant you, but in the same direction by the same rules for the same reason. Because you asked. I'll leave you with this. Your body isn't keeping score of your birthdays. It's keeping score of your ranges. Now, do me a favor. Go do those 2 tests before you forget. And tell me in the comments which one was worse, and whether it was the left side or the right. Left hip, left ankle, right ankle. I think you'll be surprised how many people say the same side as you. I read every one. And if this made the last 20 years make more sense, subscribe. Because it took me a long time to find the plain version of this, and I'd like to keep handing it over. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next video.